Hey everybody, Brian here from quantlabs.net. Going to show you a chart or two charts overlaid on top of each other to show you the relationship between gross domestic product versus the ISM report from the Institute for Supply Management, which is basically the manufacturer's report. So this is what the ISM would look like for manufacturing PMI for the time period since 1950. So I'm easily able to download that, and this is what the data kind of looks like. So there's that, and then of course there's the GDP on top of that, which is, let's say, I'll just do Quandl, let's say, or this can also be downloaded from the Fed as well. But for now, let's keep it. Where's my GDP? Good old Yahoo can't give me proper search results. Okay, well, let's just do the Fred. This is the GDP. Actually, there's a different one. It doesn't matter. I'll just show you the chart. So here's my script, and that's in Python. This is the chart that gets created. Now, as you can see here, we have our date time period roughly starting 1965. There's a GDP versus the ISM or PMI. And basically, the trend is this. The ISM manufacturing index, when 70, you're at peak. When you're around 30, you're at trough. And this is pretty well recessionary conditions along here. As you can see, 2009 and in the mid 70s during that stagnation period. So what's been going on, as long as you can see here around the mid 80s, maybe to late 80s, the ISM has not reached its full potential of back in the 60s. Or before late 60s, let's say, or even in the mid 80s. It's never reached that level. Obviously, that's due to getting a lot of the manufacturing basically sent overseas. So that's a big one for the manufacturing. And obviously, the idea here is to showcase that there is somewhat of a relationship between GDP and ISM, so you can use them in conjunction with each other to help forecast the impact that will have on the US dollar against other currencies. So here, when you look at the GDP is not doing too good either as you get into more modern times since, let's say, 2000. So as I said, this is since the 60s. But if I go into my script and basically change that to, let's say, the last 15 years. So let's say 2000. There's two spots, for one for the IS or the PMI versus the GDP. So if I rerun this, actually I have to close that, rerun that. Okay, so it's going to go download everything from Quandl, blah, 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 blah. And here's the new chart from 2000. And you can see a little better. Obviously, you can see the dip. Now, this report, I believe, is every 3 months. Let me just check out the data for you. So if I go under my data here, there's the ISM, which is downloaded. Okay, here's our data. So that is approximately every month on the first of each month. That's for the ISM. Now, the GDP, I think, is every 3 months. Just can't remember where I store it. Probably I don't store it. I just let's see if I can remember where I get that stored. Doesn't matter. anyways, but the idea here is that you can see the general trend where manufacturing dips, so will the GDP, which is a little lagging. Obviously, by definition, when you have 2 quarters of negative growth or negative GDP, that means you are in recession or contraction, which isn't good. So around 2008, we could see that big dip. And again, here in roughly 2015. Now, I can go kind of crazy and do one more just to drill it down. So let's say if I just do everything on these charts by 2010, I can do that as well. Where's my next one? Yes, right here. Okay, let's run it. And you'll see the relationship there again. Okay, so this is since 2010. You can see it's just pretty well flat. I don't think it even hit more than, what, 2-3%? I mean, it's anemic if you ask me. As opposed to the other chart, it is flat, but it's generally trending down, and since 2010 it's just been going nowhere, and it's even getting worse over the last almost 2 years, since mid 2014. So not a good sign, but this will help show those trends, and obviously the general impact on the dollar. So if I go into, let's say, Yahoo Finance, let me get a good comparison. Maybe the Canadian, no, there's not a good set of comparisons on, let's say, the US dollar against the Japanese yen. Just wish there was something a little more stable out there. Let's check this out. So if we look at the general trend over the last 5 years, you can see that the Japanese yen has strengthened, okay? And that is roughly beginning, where's my chart? So if you look at this, the manufacturing's pretty well been flat, but where it's been really hit hard is, as I said, 2014. Yeah, that's looking about right, because as the US dollar weakens, it's kind of correlated, but it doesn't. These sort of things will impact your forex trading when you watch the ISM versus the GDP. So there is definitely a correlation here. It's one of the definite drivers to use. I mean, there's many others, but there's an entire ranking system that comes out of that scoring system to forecast not only the Fed direct rate changes, but also the forex impact. So just want to show that to you, and it's kind of cool to see it when you generate it on your own, and you get better insight on it as well. Hopefully it'll help you out.